Good evening. Welcome to our January general meeting for SLSRC. I'm Brendan, the new president. You probably know Kyle. He's still around, but he's just in the background today. I hope you and your family are all safe right now. I know we're all trying to avoid the pandemic and stay as safe as we can. So please wear your mask when you're out in public. And the sooner we all stay safe, the sooner we can get back to normal. If you please put your call sign, your name in the chat, just so we can find out who all's here and chat. Do we have any new tech upgrades? So go ahead and put that in the chat as well. And not seeing any upgrades yet. I'm sure we have some. We have some upgrades, but I haven't seen any come up yet. Okay. Sorry, getting used to the web stream of the meetings.
How does this sound? Any better? Good, thanks.
All right. So if you want, feel free to sign up for our mailing list at slsrc.org to get all the updates for our club's activities, meeting notifications, other items of interest to the club members, or if you want to join our club, it's all on slsrc.org. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll see these meetings and any other content we put up online. And then just give us a thumbs up. It helps us get a little bit more exposure, and it's good for us and good for the club. Check the website often for any event updates, cancellations, or any other information. We have a Facebook, we have Twitter account, and obviously the YouTube account you're watching this on right now. We regularly post information, so stay with us. Do we have any silent keys? I don't have any in my notes, so I'll just wait for a moment to see if anyone mentions any in the chat. All right. So you can also join STL Hams on Facebook. It's a great place to stay in touch with other area hams that may or may not be members of the club. Our in-person SLSRC breakfasts are still canceled for the foreseeable future. We hope to get back to them at some point, but we're waiting for herd immunity, so we got a few more months to wait on that one. Any other comments from the chat of events coming up, contests?
Get my mic here. We've got NAQP RIDI. It is in February. It's a good contest for people to start out at, and you go to contest calendar. There's a lot of upcoming contests. It's contest season. Winter is contest season. So if you need something to do on the weekends, there's plenty of contests to go out there and wet your whistle on getting some contacts.
Perfect. Get out there and contest. Keep our skills nice and sharp. And then for the one big update, we have Rebecca. Oh, and I called her at the moment. She's not around. Bad timing on my part. Winterfest, our big, normally the largest ham fest in the area, is online only this year. So with some more details and some more information, we have Rebecca.
Good evening, everybody. I missed what you had just said, but I'm assuming this is the Winterfest announcement. So we are going to have a virtual Winterfest tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on our YouTube channel. So we will have not a sale, but we will have speakers every hour. At 9 o'clock, we're going to have a presentation on getting ready for Solar Cycle 25. At 10 o'clock, we're going to have Parks on the Air. At 11, Flex Radio is going to speak. At noon, we're going to have a presentation on satellites. At 1 o'clock, Bioenno Power is going to talk about ham radio and solar applications for their batteries. At 2 p.m., we're going to have Ham Radio Workbench talk about portable HF antennas, thinking like a backpacker. At 3 o'clock will be our presentation about youth on the air. If you need more information, go to winterfest.slsrc.org. There you can click the donation button. Since we're not meeting in person, we will not have any of those funds coming in to support our club and all of the repeaters that we do. So we are asking for donations. So there is a button on there for donations. And you can register for our raffle. There's no cost for the raffle. We do have things like a $100 gift card to DX Engineering and some batteries from Bioenno, among other things. There are also discount codes that you'll see on our website, and you'll see them along the way tomorrow for each of our presentations, that several of our Winterfest vendors have graciously agreed to giving discounts for things that you would buy on their website if you attended one of our forums. So check out winterfest.slsrc.org and don't forget to donate.
Did you say people could donate at slsrc.org?
Go to winterfest.slsrc.org,
Winterfest.
and there is a specific button for donations. If you go to the club's regular website, you can choose the shop and still get that donate button. So if you haven't updated your membership and you're going to do that, you can do membership and donations at the same time.
That looks like a good opportunity.
It surely is, because we really need those funds coming in to help with our repeater maintenance and the upkeep of our club.
Yeah. And speaking of repeaters, up next we have Kyle, who's going to give us an update on the engineering committee's activities.
Hang on, let me get my, where am I? Here I am. All right. Hello, everyone. Kyle, AA0Z from the Engineering Committee. We are in the midst of building out an ARDN network. If you don't know what ARDN is, it is Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. It is basically a private 2.4, well, 900 megahertz, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz network, and we are going to be building that out in the St. Louis area. If you want to participate or get some more information, go to, we've created an IO groups, or a groups IO chat. Well, it's a mailing list. You can go and search for STL Arden on groups IO, or you can go to our repeater page. If you go to slsrc.org, go to repeaters and nets on quick links under the right-hand side. It'll take you to the repeaters page. If you scroll all the way down, there is a link to our Arden info, and you can join the mailing list. And we are playing around with Arden stuff. So we're creating VPNs. We're going to start soon connecting all the things up on RF and put together, hopefully, a pretty robust network in the St. Louis area. Other than that, all of the repeaters are up and running. I had some problems with the 140 or the 443.075 repeater on Wires X. We got that solved. And myself and a couple other folks, George and Joe, are going to go to the 9.1, and we're going to install a cat controller over there and get that up and running to be the backup to Skywarn, the Skywarn repeater. We're also going to put All-Star on that, so we can link that in with some of the other repeaters, and we're just going to bring that repeater cabinet and repeater up to snuff. So that is the update for the engineering committee. And Brennan, I will shoot it back to you, and let me bring you back into focus, and you're ready to go.
Thanks. Thanks for that update, Kyle. I'm excited to hear all the stuff we're doing. Bill, you have any announcements or from the net or general announcements?
Yeah, I can cover 3 things real quick. Going to the net. So our Tuesday night net numbers, our minimum check-ins were 18. Our maximum check-in for our Tuesday night was 53, which ended up giving us an average of 31 check-ins every week for the year of 2020. And then, look, my mouse stopped moving. Taking a look at the numbers for the club, we are currently sitting at 180 members, but of course, new members are coming on all the time since we just came into January. But of those 180, 91 of those are amateur extras. Then 56 are general, 27 are technician. We have 5 advanced still in there, and 1 associate does not have a call sign yet, but has joined the club. And the last thing I want to point out is we are currently at 77% of our membership are also ARRL members. So that's very good to see that. And my final thing that I get to talk about is talking about our programs. Obviously today we're going to have Art, K0AIZ. He will be talking here in just a few moments. Next month, we have First Tech Challenge, and they are going to talk about robots to us. You may have seen them at Winterfest last year. Ward Silver is slated for March, talking about an end-fed half-wave antennas. And then Kyle is going to give us an update on what all's going on with our SLSRC repeaters and their abilities. That will be in April. And that's all I've got for you right now.
Thanks, Bill. All right, education, Cliff.
Am I unmuted? Am I garbled or am I okay? Hello. Yeah, good. Well, let me here are my high-tech slides here. First of all, we have not, as you know, did not have classes last year. In June, we had about 30 that had registered for the class, but unfortunately had to cancel it. But we are doing study guides, licensed study guides, education at slsrc.org. We have the technician, we have the general, and of course the extra. And let me transition to my next one here. And also licensed testing. Cliff Cave started bi-monthly test sessions again in August, I believe it was. And from what I've heard, they've had good turnout. cliffcaveve.com is their website for all the information and the dates. And they have a contact us where you can send them an email if you do have questions. And the bottom one is hamstudy.org, which is, I believe it was originally sponsored by ICOM. It's a great website. You can download it as an app. It has study guides, and it also has test questions, practice test. And if you want to do the online virtual testing, which several people, local people have, I've heard them check in the net and talk about it. They have a list of the locations, clubs, organizations that are doing the virtual online testing. Okay, moving on to my next high-tech. We discussed this at the board meeting, and we're putting together, Paul, KB0CBL, and I do the classes. And we went back to the 30-ish that had signed up for the tech class in June of last year. And we're going to start February 1 for a virtual technician class. It'll be either Zoom or Google Meet. We haven't figured out yet exactly how we're going to do it. And I've already had 6 people respond from that class, and I gave them until Monday to let me know if they want to be part of it. So if you are interested, I say most people that are in the meeting tonight already have the license. But if you've been bugging somebody, friend, neighbors, workers, to get their license, we will have the technician virtual class starting February 1st and going through March the sessions will be March 15th, but we're also going to have a review on March the 19th and the morning of Saturday, March the 20th. And the VE testing Cliff Cave schedule is 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock on the afternoon of March the 20th. So we have not put together the agenda and everything yet, but we will have that ready. So education, again, at slsrc.org. I believe that's the bottom line. Education at slsrc.org. If you have anybody interested in getting their tech license. And transition to the next high-tech slide. An early save the date, back to basics, February the 5th. We'll be talking about amateur radio activities. And these are kind of the non-technical parts of amateur radio. Contests, awards, QSL cards, nets, ecom, public service, field day, et cetera, et cetera. And that is Friday, the first Friday of the month, February the 5th, and that will be Google Meet. And March, another save the date. Kyle will wrap up the back to basics on March the 5th also and talk about other aspects of ham radio. And there's information, or will be information, on the website and also email. And then in April, we start the mentoring workshops, and we haven't decided if we're going to continue on the repeater or possibly do it something like this. But website, slsrc.org, has all the information. And Brendan, back to you. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Cliff. Looks like we got a lot of programs coming up that'll be great for a lot of people. All right, finance report. Rebecca.
Well, the club is doing okay at the moment. We have $19,942.77 in our spending accounts, $14,212.90 in checking, and $5,729.87 in PayPal. We still have our insurance fund in a CD, and we have our education fund still in our savings account. Those numbers haven't changed from last month. We are looking for donations, as I said earlier, to help with some of the expenses that we have in our repeaters. We're building out our Arden network. We still have to pay for the storage unit for all of our equipment, license plates and things for the trailer. So we do still have some maintenance and upkeep that our membership does not cover. So again, we're asking for donations, but currently the club is still doing very well financially.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca. As Rebecca said, feel free to make the donation. Winterfest has traditionally been our biggest fundraiser of the year, and hopefully this year is the same, where it really helps fill in all the gaps between memberships. The more money we have to spend on programs and education, the more people we can get into the activity, and the more people we can make lifelong hams and lifelong members and keep the club growing and keep doing more and more activities. All right, I know we had a bunch of contests mentioned before. I guess the easiest way to find those is going to ARRL's website or your, sorry, or going online looking. Let's see. Thank you, Kyle. I just drew a blank right there. All right, any other announcements from the chat? And while people are trying to think of anything. Someone mentioned also you can, when you're shopping on Amazon, shop with smile.amazon, and you can actually donate a small portion of Amazon's profit to our club. It doesn't cost you anymore. It just moves some of the profit from them to a charity of your choice, and we'd like you to pick us. Not seeing any other announcements from the chat, so I would like to welcome Art Zygielbaum. presenting amateur radio and some thoughts. It'll include a bit of Art's history and his interest in amateur radio and the background on the ARRL, the state of amateur radio and ARRL, and why he is encouraged about the future of our hobby. This will give us an opportunity to learn how the ARRL is important to ourselves, our membership, and the amateur radio community.
Well, thank you very much, Brandon. They have a very nice meeting. I enjoyed listening in. Let me get started here. I'm going to share my screen. If you have, I can't see anybody once I share my screen. So if questions come in, you'll have to say them verbally.
Yep, we'll let you know.
All right. Here we go. I trust you can see that. Okay, good. I'm, as we announced, Art Zygielbaum, K0AIZ. I'm the ARRL Midwest Division Director. That occurred at noon on January the 1st. I took over from Rod Bloxham, K0DAS. And let me go ahead here. You know, ham radio is a remarkable hobby. It's a remarkable activity. Think about it. 100-year-old hobby sanctioned by international treaty. How many hobbies can you find like that? It meant a lot to me. It gave me technical skills, communication skills, a love of electronics, many, many, many years of fun, many, many friends. And it led and underpinned my careers in science, engineering, and academia at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory and at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I became a ham in the summer of 1961. I was all of 14 years old and living in Southern California. After my novice exam, I waited over a month for the magic envelope to appear. Some of you older guys will remember that before the days of electronics. And you'll notice, as my son pointed out, there is no zip code on that address. And that's what my license looked like. WV6SAL as a novice on June 28th, 1961. My novice call was WV6SAL. When I got my general, I got WA6SAL, and that stayed through my advanced and extra. When I moved to Nebraska about 20 years ago, I became K0AIZ, got a vanity call. The interesting thing here is that on June 28, 2021, I'll be celebrating my 60th anniversary as a ham. I've seen a lot of ham radio. I've enjoyed it, and it's still a wonderful hobby. I'll talk a little bit about that. My wife became licensed. She's N6CLZ. So what was it that attracted a 14-year-old in 1961 to amateur radio? Well, my dad wanted to foster my interest in electronics. So he, as a matter of fact, worked at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory also before I did, way before I did. And one of the people there had a broken television and offered it for sale for $10 to anybody who wanted it. So my dad bought it for me. It didn't work. Now, those were the days when you were lucky to have one television in the house. It was black and white, but there was only one. My dad said, it doesn't work. If you can fix it, it's yours. Well, can you imagine 2 televisions in our house? One was mine. That was more than any of my friends in high school had. Would have my own television. Well, it ends up, I found a tube with a shorted, I don't remember which element was shorted, took out a resistor. So I replaced the tube and the resistor. It worked fine. I had my own television. It was about 12-inch RCA, portable for those days, tube type television. Now I have to tell you a short story. After I finished got it working, I was watching it one day, and there was an announcement about Jack Parr's program. He preceded Johnny Carson on the late night show, and he had an announcement that night he was going to have a female in a topless bathing suit on his show. Well, of course, being 13 or 14, with all the hormones back then, I wasn't going to miss that for anything. But I didn't want my parents to know, so I took that tube type set, took it under my covers, turned the sound so I could barely hear it, and waited. Of course, it got really hot with that tube set under there. Every once in a while, I'd turn the volume all the way down, take and fluff the covers, try to get rid of the heat. But about 1:30 in the morning, when the television and I were both about the temperature of frying bacon, the good news was he didn't in fact have a female in a topless bathing suit. The bad news was it was a chimpanzee. Oh, well, there's Jack Parr. I was one of the nerds back then, interested in science, interested in math, interested in electronics. and of course, amateur radio. That wasn't me, but it looked enough like me that I used that picture. I was active in, I could talk around across the world for free. I was active in emergency communications, Red Cross, Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service. I worked in earthquakes, forest fires, parades, including the Rose Parade, where I headed the health and welfare network. And I love to build equipment, transmitters. Matter of fact, all through my teen years, my transmitters were designed and built by me, and occasionally they work just great. You know, meeting people is a big part of this hobby. And of course, you all know about QSL cards. This is a very small sample of the cards I've collected over the years. My current QSL card looks like this. It's going to get updated. I've decided since I became director, I'm going to have an ARRL QSL card. So this one will be set aside for a while. When I was in California, this is what it looked like. The antenna there is the one in Australia, one of the deep space tracking antennas for the JPL operated. And I did spend time there in Australia during an experiment, taking my equipment down there and working with it. That's 70-meter diameter antenna. That's over an acre of movable surface. We could radar track the moon with about 75 milliwatts on S-band. An incredible antenna. I could go on and on for hours about that. But that's what I set out. That became, I'll tell you a little bit about that in a minute. Of course, worked Columbia on the Space Shuttle Columbia. A lot of us did in those days. I received this QSL card, which is probably my most favorite. I sent my QSL card with a tracking station on it to this Cuban ham after we made a contact on CW. I believe it was on 40 meters. And he sent me this QSL card, and folded very tightly to the back of the QSL card was a letter. And he told me that he had been educated in radio at a school in Washington, D.C. And after the revolution in Cuba, he couldn't get any technical magazines or legally get electronics very well. But he wanted to watch the landing on the moon. They'd heard a little bit about it. Of course, that was all that news was censored down there. So he built a huge Yagi to pick up, I think it was Channel 2 or Channel 4 in Miami. And he was one of the few Cubans who watched the moon landing live. So I collected a whole bunch of pictures from our missions, the Voyagers, and I put it in an envelope and I mailed it to him. I have no idea whether he got it or not. So what keeps a almost 74-year-old interested in the hobby? Well, emergency communications, ARES. I am a storm spotter, not as active as I was, but I am one. ARRL, of course, this is giving back. This is giving back to a hobby that's given me so much over the years. I was Nebraska section manager from 2009 till 2013, asked to stand in or get appointed as the vice director when Rod Bloxham moved into the director position. I did that for 6 years, and then, as I said, January the 1st at noon, I became the Midwest Division Director. I like DXing. I write you when I can. A little bit of contesting is fun, but I love gadgets. I played around with amateur satellites. I love audio, video, data transmission. I love FT8 and MSK, 144? Did I say that right? I think so. I'm into electronics, computers, software. I have a completely internet remote controlled station, and that was before all the radio manufacturers came out with all their capability within the radio. And I wrote a lot of the software to control my step IR antenna and my rotator. So I do enjoy that. You know, ham radio in 1961 was different. There was about 500,000 hams worldwide. The radios were a tube. They were big, they were heavy, and they sucked power. There was no cell phones or internet. A phone call, and you got a phone call from Europe. I mean, that was $100 affair, and you told your neighbors and all your friends about it. It was amazing. And of course, I could talk to Europe just by picking up my microphone. The average age, my guess, was in the mid-20s for hams, a young crowd. Today, it's a bit different. There are over 2 million hams worldwide. The radios are solid state integrated circuits, so unless you've got some of the butt anchors like I have to play around with. Average age is around 60. This is my guess. There are internets and cell phones, so ham radio has a different attraction than it did way back when. And that's our challenge, attracting young people to keep this hobby vibrant and going. thoughts on that are very much appreciated. We're looking for ideas, speaking for the ARRL, speaking for me, ideas on how to engage young people in amateur radio and keep them engaged is of interest. There's this terrible feeling about ham radio, that a ham radio meeting looks like this. And I hear this from a lot of people, that we're all aging ourselves out and that it's just not what it used to be. But there was a virtual ham radio, Ham Fest, this QSO Today Virtual Ham Radio Expo. I thought was absolutely wonderful. Lots of good speakers. Matter of fact, spent money on an amplifier. What did I buy? That I bought an amplifier and a tuner. A lot of fun, but the presentations really engaged me. I want to share one with you that kind of says, hey, young people are involved. They found good ways to be involved, and there's some bright things happening. Let me share that video with you. I thought that was amazing. As a matter of fact, somewhere in my project list, I have buy a whole bunch of party balloons and try something similar. There is amateur radio because there is ARRL. After World War I, amateur radio was set to go away. ARRL fought that and brought the hobby back. There were similar thoughts after World War II, and of course, now there's all kinds of interest in our frequencies, and ARRL is there to keep us safe. American Radio Relay League, National Association for Amateur Radio. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, it was started in 1914 by Hiram Piercy Maxim. It was our motto, our purpose is advance the art, science, and enjoyment of amateur radio. I was very lucky. I got to go to headquarters. When I became a section manager, there was a training session for new section managers at ARRL headquarters, and I've been there several times now. It's a wonderful place. You think of the ARRL as an organization or those people in Newington, but I want you to be aware of the people who are there, and these people are absolutely approachable. You have questions, you have comments, you have thoughts, you think things ought to be better. You can call these people and talk to them, and you'll find them just delightful. Operations under Norm Fusaro, who's a really neat guy, radio sport, production, regulatory affairs, VEC, and the ARRL lab. Dan Henderson is a guy who worries about regulatory affairs. We get notices, for example, when one of the state legislature has some bill that might affect amateur radio. He keeps track of things and keeps us advised. If we have questions about regulations and things that are concerning us, we go to Dan and he gets us the answers. The ARRL lab is first class. It's a lot of fun to be there. Tons of equipment, things to play with. They do product reviews, as you know. They have a technical information service. You're playing with your ICOM whatever, and it's doing something weird. You can call them and say, "Hey, my ICOM is doing something weird," and they'll talk you through it and help you find out what's wrong with it. They worry about RFI issues, and they work on industry regulatory support. That is making sure things don't interfere with amateur radios and vice versa. The people there, Ed Haar and Zach Lau, are two of the great people that work there. Another one who I got to know personally, Bob. I mean, he came here to Lincoln to our Winter Hamfest and in our March Hamfest. I think it was called the Winter Hamfest. But anyways, Bob Allison's a really neat guy, very bright, a lot of fun to be around, lots of good advice. And there's an exhibit there at headquarters of all the radios I used to drool over when I was a kid, as well as some of the new ones. A lot of you old guys will probably, and women will probably recognize some of that stuff. But fun to go around and just touch the old stuff. Education services, instructor support, teacher institutes, education technology program, the International Space Station connection, a newsletter. If you need help in teaching or in, having a licensing course, you can just ask these people. There's a lot available. Field services, you know about that. The W1AW, emergency preparedness, the convention programs are all handled by field services. The section managers report under this area, and the guy who leads that is Steve Ewald. When I was a section manager, if I had any problem at all or question, I could call Steve and, "Hey, Steve, this is what I think, this is what's happening, what should I do?" And if he didn't have the answer, I'd have it within an hour. If he knew the answer, I'd get it immediately, but he was just super to work with. Of course, ARES is part of that, was now part of the emergency service, and field organization, 9,000 plus volunteers. You're familiar with it, I'm sure. ARRL gives support, training, and the organization behind it. The contest branch worries about operating events. There's about 15 contests a year, 24 operating events. Paul Berkey runs that. Again, you have questions about rules or award applications or for ARRL awards. These are the people to call. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the awards that the ARRL provides. And of course, DXCC, something a lot of us spend a lot of time getting. I'm up to 226 countries, I think, or DX entities. 1.1 million credits processed every year, 13,500 applications received. And every year, the number of DXCC applications has gone up. Very popular thing to do in amateur radio. Then, of course, is the logbook of the world. And I use that a lot. I assume a lot of you do. It had, this was about 2 years ago, has over 120,000 users and over 1 billion QSO records. It's very impressive to me that I work a new country and 10 minutes later I look at Logbook of the World and it's confirmed. Don't have to wait for that QSL card, even though I love QSL cards. There is the affiliated club program, of which your club is an affiliated club. As a matter of fact, your club is a special service club, which is a club that has active training, publicity, and operating activities. Affiliated clubs get benefits such as insurance, club insurance, equipment insurance. They get a part of the money when a member joins or renews the ARRL through the club. They get a library book set, publication of Hamfests, and so on. I'm very pleased to be talking to an affiliated club. It's an important part of the ARRL. For those of you using QSL cards, the outgoing QSL service processes more than 800,000 QSLs annually. 2 tons of QSL cards were shipped in 2016. And there are the publications, of course. QST you get with your membership, and I hope you're aware that all the magazines, QST, On the Air, QX, and NCJ, are available online to all members from the ARRL website. There's over 150 plus books, over 150 books available from the ARRL store. They're great books, fun to read, something to curl up at night and worry about what you're going to do to your antenna the next day. There are the new podcasts that are fun to listen to. There's the Learning Network with webinars to teach about new things, a good way to learn, and I find them very interesting. The Volunteer Exam Coordinator, headed by Maria Soma, VEC manager. You all know about that. I would bet you have VECs in your club. The ARRL VEC administers 75% of all amateur radio exams. There are 37,500 volunteer examiners, over 51,000 exam elements administered annually. And there in 2016, there were over 7,200 sessions. Amazing activity. I mean, all these things the ARRL does. Be aware that when you pay your dues, it's going for a lot of good things for our hobby. And of course, there's W1AW. When I was doing my section manager training, I let people in Nebraska know that I set up a time that I was going to be on W1AW, and I was very pleased to have a pilot from Nebraska while I was at W1AW. Any member can go there, operate the station, latest equipment, all the gadgets you want to play with. It's hard to tear yourself away. It's a beautiful place to operate, and tons of antennas. For the W1AW broadcast, the CW and the bulletins, this is the equipment that does that. Now, so where do we go from here? You've seen all this stuff at headquarters. You know about the Parity Act that's still being worked on, working with staff and lobbyists to update the text of the bill and get a new bill through to make sure anybody who wants to put up an antenna reasonably within the some limitations of their HOA can do that. ARES updates have been completed. The emergency coordinator is now the person on the front line with full knowledge of the fields, and that's of what's the needs in the field, and that's fully acknowledged. The system now is in alignment with the NIMS. And as you know, we ran into problems with the ARES Connect and the cost and reliability and so on, and a replacement is being looked at. And that's kind of a sad note, but anybody who's been in IT or involved in software development knows that sometimes you got to say that's enough of that. And we have a new emergency management director, Paul Gilbert, another really good guy. And again, approachable, available for questions and help you when you need help. The National Traffic System, which is the foundation of ARRL, American Radio Relay League, was a traffic system. It showed limited growth and low activity. It needs a better interface to emergency communications organizations. It's under study by the Public Service Enhancement Working Group. We were supposed to have a report in 2020. It's been delayed. Part of that is COVID. Part of it is personnel change. But now rethinking what this should look like in the modern era. Some of your digital experiments with, I can't think of the name of the system that uses the 2.4 gigs to pass messages around is one example of the kind of things that need to be worried about. The new FCC monitoring program is pretty amazing. It's a huge step up from the official observers. There are 250 selected monitoring stations. They are vetted and approved by the FCC, so they have real authority. In other words, they can say bad and let the FCC know bad, and it carries weight. This is managed by the former FCC official who worried about enforcement in ham radio and other services, and that was Riley Hollingsworth. Again, really neat guy, really approachable, very intelligent, and fun to talk to. You know, if we're going to keep growing this hobby, that really means we've got to recruit young people. And it's not just getting them into the hobby, it's keeping them engaged, keeping them active. Mentoring is one big way. Most of us have had Elmers. Most of us had somebody we can connect to. But having an Elmer who sticks with you until you really get locked into the hobby is a problem. And from a national view, we really fail miserably at this. We need to do much better at bringing people in and then keeping them engaged in the hobby. I'm not telling most of you anything you don't already know, but it's something that we worry about. We've looked at a new entry-level license. This team is working on this. The FCC says no new license levels. Well, at least it did. Current techs have no access to the HF band, so there's an effort to add HF privileges to techs. That's the largest growing license class. So get them involved in HF and maybe intrigue them in moving up in their license and getting more involved in the hobby. So what did the ARRL do for you? Let me go through some things. You know, it's a list I kind of gleaned from all the reports from all the committees and the division directors from the board meetings. But some things, of course, the ARRL represented the amateur radio interest to the International Amateur Radio Union, that represents it to the international community, and that keeps us going as far as all the frequency grabs and all that are attempted at all levels. Represented us to FCC in Congress, fought the new FCC license fees for amateur radio, but it didn't quite make it, but got it down from $50 to $35. Provided technical information, evaluation of equipment, supported public relations for events like Field Day. Many new books were created and are available. The antenna book, the amateur handbooks have been revamped. We now have the On the Air magazine. You can read it in print. You can read it on the website. You can read it on an Android or iOS app. And there's the new So Now What podcast for new amateurs. It's, I find, fun to listen to, even though I've been around for a long time. Remember, the ARRL is ready to help you. If you got a technical question, as I've said, and I remember even when I was a novice way back when, I built a transmitter and I had a horrible harmonic. I was operating 40 meters. And I had a horrible harmonic at 20 meters, but it was like 6 or 8 dB down. And I called the ARRL technical guy and said, hey, it's 8 dB down. He says, I wouldn't use that. And he gave me some advice on how to do better. And that's available right now. Legal issues, whether they're permit issues, whether there's a problem with, for example, an FCC complaint that you're concerned about. ARRL is ready to help you. We have volunteer counsels who will pro bono advise you on what the right things to do. Before I travel overseas, I sometimes want to take a radio. I've done that in Australia, New Zealand, done that in Europe, done that in Honduras, and I can call the ARRL. I says, this is where I'm going. What do I need to do? And they tell me what I need to do. Now this graph, you got to be careful. This is one of those misleading graphs because the scale on the left does not start at 0. So we're looking at the very top of something that starts at around 600,000 or 650,000. Number of hams is growing through this chart. The vertical lines show a change in question pools to see if they have an effect, and they may have one. You can see we dipped down in 2007, but are recovering nicely. And in the U.S., we have, well, it's approaching 775,000 hams. So by class, how are they coming into the hobby? And you can see from this that it's the technician class that's growing. Novices and advanced are going away because no new ones are being issued. Generals are growing a little bit, but the big growth is in the technician class. How about the change in license class over the last 20 years? I couldn't resist doing this little analysis. Total licensees has gone up 12%. Novice dropped 84%, of course. Advanced dropped because it's not being given anymore. Tech grew by 14%. General, and this is of the class. So, you know, even though there's many more techs than extras, for example, the number of extras has doubled in this period. It's still a smaller number than techs, but that's pretty amazing. So here we are in the Midwest. We've got approaching 33,000 hams within each of our sections. Iowa is around 60, almost 6,500. Kansas has approaching 7,400. Missouri is doing really well, 15,500. Nebraska has its ups and downs, and we're sitting right about just about 3,750. But what about membership in ARRL? Well, that's kind of sad. The total license has gone up from 2001 to 2019 by almost 11%. Total ARRL has gone down by 5%. In the Midwest Division, we've gone down 10%. And Nebraska did the worst, down almost 19%. You can see the numbers there. Missouri did very well on this scale, down about 2%. Some of this was when the ARRL raised the price of dues. The dues went from $39 to $49. And I think that's right, $39 to $49. And the problem is they hadn't raised their dues for over 15 years. And costs were outstripping the income. So they raised the dues in one fell swoop. A lot of us feel they should have done it in increments all along, that people are used to the price going up. On the other hand, $49 over a year isn't that much money. I mean, how many other things do you pay many times? I pay many times that with my network streaming for watching television, Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that. So, and the benefits as I've gone through, it's what keep our hobby going, and it provided services that are, if you use them, are totally invaluable. They're very well done and very available. Where are we recently? Well, this is ARRL membership comparing December 2019 to 2020. Iowa dropped 3.5%. Missouri showed the strongest with a 1.8% increase. Nebraska was just a little bit behind, 1.6. Kansas at 0.8. Overall, the numbers are about the same in the Midwest Division. And that's something that concerns us. And, you know, the hobby is what, the ARRL is what keeps the hobby going, and membership is what keeps the ARRL going. And we need to do a little bit better than that. So the number of hams is growing slowly. ARRL membership is actually growing slowly throughout the nation. Missouri showed the highest percentage growth in the division. Iowa showed a loss. The average age of hams is still going up. I don't have the latest numbers, but it's sliding up. Hopefully we'll see that change. So what do? ARRL is looking hard at how to be more attractive to young hams. You'll be hearing a lot about that. There's the new magazine and the new podcast to help out with that. And hopefully that'll make a change. Throughout the division, we think increased club participation is very important. That's what helps get people to stay with the hobby and find ways, things that interest them. Mentors and Elmers, of course, local VEC testing, quality programs at meetings. And I will say, if you go to the Midwest Division website, there's a speakers list. It's small at the moment. And one of the things we're working on is to make that bigger so that we have good people available to talk with clubs. The ARRL is talking also about improving that and having videos available to use at clubs as well. This is the Midwest Division website. If you don't know, please visit it. It needs updating now that we have new director and vice director. We'll be doing that slowly. Of course, special events, winter field day, things like that help increase club participation and engage young people. And I did talk about this earlier. Make sure your club's ARRL affiliation info is updated. I understand you guys have updated yours. That's great. It doesn't appear on the website yet, but there's always that kind of delay. Years and years ago, there was a cartoon called Pogo. It may still be around, and this was a great cartoon. It said, "We have met the enemy, and he is us." You know, there would be no ham radio, as I said, without the ARRL. And there would be no ARRL or ham radio without you. We need to work harder at bringing in new hams, new ARRL members. Matter of fact, my friend Scott Gardner, KC0KHA, another professor at the university, uses the term hamvangelists. So we need to become hamvangelists. We need your help in bringing in new hams and bringing in new members. And recasting what Pogo said, we have met the opportunity, and it is us. Now, I want to share another video. This came out from the Radio Society of Great Britain. It's about 5 minutes long. I think it's worth watching because, again, to me, it means there's a lot of hope in this hobby, and we're not the old fogies that we keep worrying that we are. So let me share this with you.
We live in an age of amazing technology. But for some people, just being a consumer of off-the-shelf gadgets isn't enough. If you're bored with this and looking for something more exciting, why not take a trip around the world at the speed of light?
Delta Kilo 8 Lima Golf. This is Mike X-Ray 0 Sierra Sierra Whiskey. Okay, thank you Frank for coming back to my K0AIZ call. My name is Adam, as in Alpha Delta Alpha Mike, Alpha Delta Alpha Mike, Adam. Adam is my name.
We all love to communicate. Amateur radio takes you beyond being a mere gadget user. It challenges you by putting you in charge of the technology.
The bit that always interested me in the amateur radio was always the construction. One of the big things I've been interested in constructing is using the Raspberry Pi in amateur radio, because as a small single board computer it has a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities.
So we're building a radio receiver.
Okay.
And so I'm just on the part which is the demodulator.
This is a hobby with hundreds of different ways to have techie fun. Using this simple ham radio transceiver and a good antenna, you can talk to other amateurs around the world, and you can do it from almost anywhere.
I'm at a portable station.
The radio signals you transmit travel around the world at the speed of light. No internet connection or mobile phone signals are needed. Just your own skills as a radio ham.
I'm 11 years old and I'm about to do the foundation license here in England. Over.
I got into amateur radio really to get a greater understanding of technology. I spend so much time on my phone, on laptops, and really have no idea how any of it works. It was a really welcoming experience for me, a really great community, and really easy to actually do. In disaster situations, when normal communications are out of action, amateur radio still gets the message through, which is why many hams belong to organisations that train their members to provide emergency radio links when needed.
I like the practicality of being able to send a message and know how to get something out to someone under your own steam, so kind of making it yourself. And I'm very interested in being able to do the electronics, being able to build things, being able to be self-reliant in communication. I think that's really interesting.
It's great fun talking to other hams in unusual and sometimes exotic places around the world. And beyond. The International Space Station carries ham radio gear on board, and there's always licensed amateurs among the crew to use it, such as Commander Doug Wheelock.
I've really enjoyed using the ham radio and talking to ham radio operators all over the world.
Radio amateurs around the world also build and launch their own satellites, and hams anywhere can use them for space communication experiments, and of course to chat to each other.
Golf 1 X-Ray India Echo.
Golf 1 X-Ray India Echo, Golf Bravo 1 Yankee Oscar Tango America. Afternoon, 5 and 9. We're using SA50, which is an FM transponder satellite, which was going over from about west to north, around 70 degrees elevation.
When computers and radios come together, there's a whole bunch of new opportunities for hams to connect by radio, sending text, transmitting pictures or real-time video, even displaying data from an amateur radio satellite orbiting the Earth.
Mike 6 November Yankee Kilo.
CQ, GB1 Utah.
I got started in amateur radio because I'm a Girl Guide leader and I wanted to take up a hobby that I could do with my brownies. The interesting aspect of amateur radio is that you do learn how it works, and you get to communicate with loads of different people, find out about different areas of the world. You learn a bit more about the science of how it works, and you have a much more profound understanding of a technology that is going on all around you.
In amateur radio, sport and radio fit together well too.
I'll take another bearing in a minute because I don't trust that.
These guys are trying to locate hidden radio transmitters, racing against each other and the clock. Amateur radio is a fantastic hobby for anybody who loves technology. I've only really been involved in the hobby for a really short amount of time, and I've been speaking to people all across the world. It's a really, really inviting community. One minute you're speaking to somebody about amateur radio, and it leads on to so many other discussions about other different technologies you may not have even thought of. So if you do get a chance, come and join us.
Well, I thought that was really well done, and nice to see all those young people so involved. You know, Rod Bloxham left some big shoes for me to fill. I have to admit that I have a lot to learn. By the way, Vice Director Dave Proper, K2DP, wanted me to say that he was sorry he couldn't make it tonight. He had a conflict, but he and I need your help, ideas, suggestions, and criticisms. We're literally all ears. We really want to hear from people. And we're here to help you also. If you have a problem with ARRL, your subscription or whatever, we're here. Let us know what we can do to support you. Here's my contact information. You can email me at K0AIZ@ARRL.org. There's my phone number. And Dave's available also, K2DP. He's K2DP@ARRL.org. And there's his phone number, 314-225-5167. So that's pretty much what I have to say. I very much appreciate you being there. And again, please feel free to make contact. I'd love to hear your thoughts, love to find out what I can do for you. And that's all I have to say. And if I can figure out how to stop sharing, there we go. And we're back live, I hope.
Back to live, yep. Thanks, Art. That was a great presentation. I was waiting to see if there's any questions for you coming out of the chat, but nothing's popped up yet. But I gotta say, it sounds like you've done quite a lot in your 60 years as a ham, and I had no idea of some of the things that ARRL had available for its members. The technical services and the educational services just sound absolutely fantastic, and it seems like it's get a really good value for the $49 a year that we're all contributing. So if anyone's not a member, definitely should join. I know a large part of our membership is ARRL members, but not all of us. So we're looking at you. We know who you are.
Thank you very much, and we're here to help.
Yeah. And on the topic, just during our presentation, we had at least 5 people either renew their membership or become new members or donate. So that's definitely appreciated for all the people that are here.
That's very good.
Art, any parting words?
No, I'm just feel free to contact. I'm on the air. I do a lot of FT8. I occasionally show up on sideband, and if you hear me on, please drop in, say hello. I'd love to talk with you. We're talking about possibly doing some on-air stuff across the division, doing some getting the section managers and assistant directors and director, vice director on, and talking across the division and being available on the air for people to discuss things. So if that comes to fruition, we'll put it in our newsletter and let you know. But again, K0AIZ, and I'd love to talk to you.
Thank you. So don't forget, everyone, tomorrow is Winterfest. Make sure to go to winterfest.slsrc.org for the full schedule of all the activities and the link to the stream. You can find it right back here on the SLSRC YouTube channel, or following the link that's in winterfest.slsrc.org or from the main SLSRC website. Please make donations, join as a member if you aren't already. Make your contribution. It's definitely appreciated to keep us going and keep ARRL going. Any other comments from the chat, or anything else needs to be mentioned?
A couple of people.
Someone had asked for Art's video, and there is a link in the chat for the Amateur Radio Society of Great Britain on where to find that.
Yeah. And we'll put a link. Sorry, we'll put a link in the description, the video description below, so you can link directly to it.
Perfect. Yeah, that was a great video you guys found. Very impressive. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn? I guess that would be you, Kyle. You're the only other one on.
Hey, I make a motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn. How about that?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
And we're clear.